What's up, everybody? Jamie Stark
And Brett Clausen.
bringing to you today.
Top 5 diet mistakes.
Let's go. Number 1.
Cookie cutter solutions are no good.
What do we mean by cookie cutter solutions? Guys, cookie cutter solutions means that what works for somebody else might not work for you. So it's going to depend on age, gender, body type, hormone levels, stress levels, activity level during the day, body type especially. So, like my tolerance and my reactivity to carbohydrates is going to be a lot different than Brett's. And so I'm more carb sensitive than Brett's, and that's just a small example. So how do you figure out what works for you? You're going to have to try a bunch of different things for a period of time, 2 to 3 months at a time, of one particular concept, and figure out what works best. Listen to your body, look at your results, not just on the scale but in the mirror, and that's going to tell you what works for you.
The exact same diet, like Jamie was saying, for cookie cutter solutions might not be the exact same thing, for an athlete versus for somebody that's just trying to lose a little bit of weight. If like a regular person that's just, has a little bit of activity, if they're eating red meat, 3 to 4 times a day, if they're eating whole eggs, whole milk, absolutely every single day and eating bacon, that might not be the absolute most ideal thing. But for an athlete that's looking for performance, for strength, for athleticism, the whole milk, the red meat, the whole eggs, having that extra cholesterol to raise testosterone to help with hormone production and everything too, those healthy, saturated fats can actually be good for performance, versus somebody that's just trying to look a little bit better, lose a little bit of weight. They might not want all that extra cholesterol or all that extra fat, if that makes sense. So again, cookie cutter solutions are not the way to go. You have to figure out what your goals are and what your body type are, and that's what you're going to be looking to do. Tip number 2.
Undereating is one of the main problems. We've talked to tons of diet and nutrition coaches, bodybuilding coaches in the industry, in the time that we've been in this industry, and undereating is probably the number 1 diet mistake that people are making. And it's for those reasons that Brad explains. Is your metabolism is going to adjust. Your body doesn't necessarily want to waste away and lose the fat that you had, and you have to basically convince it to in a very simple way. So your metabolism will actually slow down if you are under eating.
Right.
So talk to a coach, talk to a nutrition specialist, and they'll get you on the right course.
I just had a gentleman come in when I was working the Columbus shop here. It was a couple months ago already, and he was telling me his diet, what he was actually consuming during the day. And he's like, I'm just at a plateau. I lost maybe 10, 15 pounds here, and I was doing a really good job. And then I couldn't tell exactly how many calories he was eating a day, but he told me, he was eating maybe 3 times a day, and it sounded like it was pretty clean and everything. But if, just based on my experience, he was probably only eating 11 to 1,200 calories a day. So what happens when you do that is your metabolism is actually going to slow down to match that amount of calories. So he literally wasn't eating enough food. And I told him, I was like, if you add 1 more shake in a day, or 2 more shakes in, or just 1 more meal in per day, you're probably going to lose weight because your metabolism is going to ramp back up. So that is a huge thing, is under eating. Like, it could be, especially if you're eating clean, eating clean, it can be a lot of food to equal a lot of calories. So if you're eating clean, you might be under eating.
Diet mistake number 3.
Compounding mistakes.
So what do I mean by compounding mistakes? It means that somebody's on a really strict diet program, they slip up once, and they just bail on the entire diet altogether.
Absolutely.
And that is the biggest mistake. If I'm on a diet and I slip up and I have a Hershey's bar, it's not a bad deal just to jump right back on the diet. In all reality, that Hershey's bar isn't going to make an enormous difference. So just get back on the diet, stick back to it, and treat it as a cheat meal, and that would be the main thing to do, and not let that compound itself into then chipping into the tub of ice cream.
Right. And this is a perfect example of a story for me myself. In 2012, I did a bodybuilding show, and I was actually pretty good on my diet and everything, even though, granted, I didn't know exactly what I was doing back then. There was a lot of things I could have done differently. But I specifically remember one time, it was the one time I can really remember where I really messed up, and it was, I was super hungry. I didn't have my food with me, because I usually prepped all my chicken and everything and all my beef. But I didn't have anything with me, and I was really hungry, and it was about a week and a half out before my show. So I stopped by the gas station, I got one of those sandwiches, and I think like chocolate milk or something like that. So I slipped up once, but I didn't let that like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna like not do my show or anything like that. I slipped up once, and then I got right back on the horse, and then started chipping away at it. So, and again, maybe that did affect it, maybe it didn't, but it didn't deter me from not doing my competition and having my same goals. Number 4,
cheat meals. So a lot of people think that when they're on a diet program that they have to stick to the diet program no matter what. And this is going to tie in with our next point as well. But I'm a huge advocate for somebody having a cheat meal. Now, the frequency of that is going to once again depend on the individual and what their body is going to take. But the core philosophy is when you're on a diet and you're being super strict with not only your calorie intake, you're ingesting the same amount of calories typically every single day. It's good to fluctuate those to keep your body guessing a little bit. So if you increase your calories for one day, or for one meal even, it's going to spike your metabolism again, and that could help an individual who's plateaued to jump off that plateau.
Right, absolutely. So for me personally, I guess my cheat meals usually look something like this. And again, this might be different between me and Jamie, or me and Holly, or me and my wife Lisa. I mean, this really can be different for a lot of people. But I'm a skinny boy, so my cheat meals usually typically result in a pint of ice cream a couple times a week, just to ingest some extra calories and all that kind of stuff. So again, I can get away with that just because I'm naturally fairly skinny. Obviously, if I was competing for a show or something like that, I would probably not be doing that. But again, that's beneficial to me because I can use those extra calories.
Mistake number 5.
Diet versus lifestyle change. But diet actually implies, I'm going to do it for X amount of time, I'm going to do it for a month, I'm going to do it for 2 months, and then I'm going to go back to my normal ways. A lifestyle change is exactly what it says. This is for the long haul. This is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life.
What I would suggest is ban crash diets unless you've got like a wedding coming up or something that you need to look good for. If I'm going to go to the beach in 3 weeks, maybe I'd want a crash diet. But otherwise, ban crash diets. Because what crash diets do, as opposed to making simple lifestyle changes one step at a time, is they're going to make you lose all that weight. And a lot of crash diets work, don't get me wrong, but typically what happens is somebody will lose that weight, and then they'll be all happy about their results. They'll go back to their normal lifestyle, and then 3 months later they're back where they started. So get rid of crash diets and instead treat it as a lifestyle change. Start eating cleaner foods, start eating more natural foods, more, I guess, less processed foods.
Right.
And then it'll be a simple, gradual change over the course of a longer period of time, and it'll be more sustainable. We don't want to leave you with a big list of things not to do. We want to give you some solid tips of what to do. So we've come up with a top 4 list of what to do to correctly diet.
All right, tip number 1 is make a decision and have a why. So making a decision, it might sound super simple, but everything starts with mindset. So if you look at the root word of decide, it's actually side, as in genocide, homicide. What does it actually mean? It means to cut off. So if I'm going to decide to do something, it means there's literally no other option. I'm going to finish through with it no matter what. So, and again, have a reason why. I talk to people about this all the time. Your reason why might actually sound a little bit even, self-centered to other people when it starts out with the nutrition industry. Honestly, it might be something as in, you're an 18-year-old guy and you might want to look good for the ladies to get a girlfriend. Who cares? That's fine. It makes you get in the gym to get healthier. That's fine. Your reason why might change over time. It might be, for a lady, she wants to walk down the aisle to be able, or for a dad to walk her daughter down the aisle. Or, it might be, mom, she wants to look healthier, at the beach. Or, it could be really anything, or it could be as you transition in life, it could be, I want to be a grandparent to be able to play with my grandchildren, and be around for my grandchildren. So again, your why is going to transition over time. And if at the beginning, especially at the beginning, it seems self-centered to other people, who cares? That is totally fine.
And tip number 2, track it. We always recommend download MyFitnessPal. It's a great free app. You can log everything that you're eating. You can even start tracking what you're eating before you jump on a diet. Know what you're eating and what adjustments you need to make so that you have a baseline. And when you jump on your diet for at least a week, track every single thing that you eat. It's super simple. It takes just a couple seconds after every meal to log what you're eating, and it'll go by portion sizes. It'll tell you the grams of carbs, fat, protein, and you'll have a really great baseline. So track everything, because I could think that I'm eating, 1,500 calories, but in reality, this one food that I'm eating on a daily basis could be more nutrient dense than I think, and I could actually be eating 2,500 calories. So track it.
Number 3, accountability partner. And again, if ideally, obviously, it would probably be the best solution to have somebody that's very knowledgeable about nutrition, about the fitness industry, to be your accountability partner. But if there's nobody available, just have it could be your brother, sister, mom, dad, who cares, Just have them, maybe it could be once a day, maybe not do once a day because it might get a little bit annoying, but even once a week, just have them text you, just say, how's your lifestyle changes going? And just you don't want to let that person down. So if you have somebody just checking in even just once a week, or honestly just once a month even, that can make a huge difference, because that you're going to have to respond to them, and you don't want to let that person down.
And tip number 4 is the more natural the state of the food, the better.
Yeah.
So this is a very general statement and doesn't necessarily hold up 100% of the time, but in general, if I'm looking at the back of a food label on, say, a loaf of bread, and I'm going through there and I can't understand half of the words that are written on the back of that label, I'm not saying it's necessarily bad, but I would tend to lean more towards something that I knew every word on the back of that label. And if it says, and this is a bread, definitely a preference here. If it says high fructose corn syrup on it, I'm putting it down. I'm getting a different one. So just simple little tricks, things. Always read the label, because you can think that you're eating something that's very, very healthy, but in reality, it's got a ton of preservatives and it's very, very processed. So more natural tends to almost always, not 100% of the time, but almost always be better. Thanks for watching. And if you like what you saw here, if you think it'll help somebody else along their weight loss journey, go ahead and hit that share button down below.
Comment below, let me know.